patate because it already has so much flavor between the rum, the nutmeg, the cinnamon, the ginger. It's just a blast of flavor in your mouth. That's why it's so popular. But I think this prune and a raisin glaze was just a trick because it just complements everything, brings the flavors out without being too overpowering. So I really recommend this. Hi guys, welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Corinne. So today we're making the most popular Haitian dessert there ever was and my dad's all-time favorite, pain patate. Now this isn't just any kind of pain patate. This is the best pain patate you'll ever have. If this isn't the best recipe you've ever tried, feel free to come at me in the comment section. I'm all for it, but I promise you this will be the best recipe you've ever made. So a few years ago, I perfected this recipe and anyone who's tried it just could not get enough. And I'm so excited to share this with you guys. So all you'll need to make this is 2 pounds of white sweet potatoes. I'm just gonna peel and shred these. I'm lazy, so I'm not gonna shred this by hand. I'm gonna use this shredder that I got on Amazon. I'm gonna link it below. You just put the chunks into the tube and it just shreds it for you. 3 ripe bananas. I love me some bananas. Most people use 1 or 2 at the most, but I go with 3. I promise it makes a difference. 1 cup of brown sugar. I have some extra brown sugar here, less than a 1/4 cup because I like to adjust the pain patate while we're cooking it toward the end. 2 tablespoons of grated ginger root. Now I know that may sound like a lot compared to other recipes, but I love the aroma and the way the flavors just stick out in the pain patate. It makes a world of difference. 3 tablespoons of melted butter. Here I have 1/2 cup of dried raisins. Now usually we just use raisins, but today I'm gonna do 1/2 cup of dried raisins and 1/2 cup of prunes. I think it'll take it to the next level. Here I have some flour, about a 1/4 cup. That's just to thicken the pain patate mixture toward the end. 2 limes that we're gonna grate. 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. 12 ounces of evaporated milk. 12 ounces of coconut milk. And 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Now this is all you'll need to make the pain patate. You'll also need a 1/4 cup of dark rum. Preferably use rum bourbon cool, which is a Haitian rum. It's hard to find, that's not what I'm using here today, but any dark rum will do. Now I'm also gonna do a rum prune glaze to put on top. And for this, you'll need 1/2 cup of butter, 1/2 cup of dark rum, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, a 1/4 cup of prunes that we're gonna chop up, a 1/4 cup of dried raisins, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And that's it. That's all you need to make your pain patate. Start by peeling your sweet potatoes. I'm gonna peel them, cut them into chunks, and put it in my grater. Okay, so now we're ready to shred our white sweet potatoes. Okay, so now we have our grated white sweet potatoes. Now we're just gonna add in our bananas and kind of mash it all in together. I'm just gonna use my hands to do this. Okay, now we can add in our coconut milk, our evaporated milk. Stir that in. add in your 1 cup of sugar. And the extra sugar that I had, I'm just gonna leave it on the side, like I said, to add toward the end if I wanna adjust the flavors a bit. Okay, so now we can add in our lime zest. We're gonna add in our 2 tablespoons of ginger root. Okay, now we've added in the 2 tablespoons of grated ginger and our lime zest. Stir that in, and now you can add in your 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. Okay, now I'm gonna add in the cinnamon, nutmeg, and salt. So now we're ready to put this on the stove and cook it down for about 45 minutes or until it's dark and thick. The only ingredients I haven't added yet are the raisins, the prunes, the butter, the flour, and our rum. I still have my extra brown sugar just in case I'm gonna add it. So once I add my pimpatat mixture to the stove and start cooking it and it starts getting hot, I'm gonna add in my melted butter. And toward the end of the cooking process is when I'm gonna add my rum, my raisins, my prunes, and my flour to thicken the mixture. Once the mixture starts to boil, you can add in your melted butter. Once the mixture has thickened, so about 45 minutes into the cooking process, you can add in your flour. Once you've stirred in your flour and cooked it down for about 5 minutes, you can add in your raisins, prunes, and your rum. Stir that all in, then cook for another 10 minutes. Okay guys, so now our pimpatat mixture is ready. I've tasted it to see whether or not I need to add that extra brown sugar, and I don't. It's absolutely perfect. Meanwhile, you can preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that I've preheated my oven, we're gonna bake these on 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 35 to 40 minutes. I like to check the edges to see if it's ready because they tend to be a little crispier. That's how I know it's done. Or you can use a fork and poke it in the center to see if it comes out clean. So while our pimpatat is cooking, we can move on to our prune and raisin sauce. First, we'll chop up some prunes and put it in a bowl. Okay, now that we have our prunes all chopped up, we can add in our raisins. And now we're gonna add in our rum and just let that soak for about 30 minutes. Make sure it's nice and drenched in rum. I'm just gonna set that to the side. Melt your butter in a small saucepan, and once it starts to simmer, you can add in your brown sugar and salt. Stir that all in and start to dissolve the sugar.
Once the mixture starts to boil, you can add in your rum, prunes, and raisins, and just let that cook for about 5 to 10 minutes or until the sauce starts to thicken. Once your sauce is ready, you can pour that on top of your pimpatat before we dive in.
Okay guys, our pimpatat is ready. I let it cool for a bit. Now we're just gonna plate it and dive in. This is our raisin and prune glaze, if you will. Just gonna put that on top. Okay. Here we go. Now you can see the prunes just already mashed in there, looking delicious. It is phenomenal. The glaze complements it perfectly. This is just as good as it looks. It doesn't get any more Haitian than pimpatat, and this is the best recipe you could ever try. You're gonna want to try this. The raisin and prune glaze is exactly it. It's hard to come up with a twist for pimpatat because it already has so much flavor between the rum, the nutmeg, the cinnamon, the ginger. It's just a blast of flavor in your mouth. That's why it's so popular. But I think this prune and a raisin glaze was just a trick because it just complements everything, brings the flavors out without being too overpowering. So I really recommend this. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. Hit the bell to get notified when I post new recipes. As usual, you're gonna want to because every week we're back making new and exciting recipes, and I can't wait for the next one. I'll see you guys next time.
Somehow, I wish we'll meet again. It's time to care. We should just share love one day.